In the dawn of ancient China, when the skies shimmered with celestial grace and the earth flourished beneath divine favor, there lived a woman whose beauty and virtue transcended mortal bounds. Her name was Chang'e, and from the moment she first walked among the living, the world seemed to pause and breathe in her presence. With skin like moonlit jade and eyes as deep as tranquil lakes, she carried herself with such serenity that flowers tilted toward her as she passed, and even the wind softened its breath in reverence. Chang'e was not only admired for her elegance, but for her kindness and wisdom. She tended the sick, spoke gently to the troubled, and walked with quiet dignity through the villages, inspiring poets and prayers alike. It was said that both mortals and immortals turned their gaze toward her with awe. The heavens themselves took notice, and the stars blinked a little brighter each night she looked up toward them. Among the heroes of that age stood Hou Yi, the celestial archer of legend. Tall and unwavering, he was famed for his strength and unmatched skill with a bow, a protector of the mortal realm. When the 10 suns rose together and scorched the land, it was Hou Yi who, with unwavering resolve, shot down 9 of them to save the earth. For this act of valor, he was revered across kingdoms. Fate, ever the weaver of wondrous tales, brought these 2 souls together. Their meeting was not heralded by thunder or fanfare, but occurred beneath the blossoms of a white plum tree, where Chang'e was offering prayers to the heavens. Hou Yi, drawn by a dream that had whispered her name, came upon her as if led by divine threat. When their eyes met, time seemed to still, his fierce spirit calmed by her gentle gaze, and her quiet heart stirred by his noble presence. Love blossomed like spring after winter's hush. They spoke not of grand conquests or heavenly power, but of shared joys, of quiet walks and warm laughter. Their bond deepened with each passing day until the realm itself rejoiced at their union. Their wedding was a celebration woven with silk and song. Lanterns lined the pathways like stars fallen to earth, and petals rained down from the skies, carried by winds sent by the dragon kings. Gods and humans alike attended, bearing gifts and blessings. As they exchanged vows beneath the full moon, the earth pulsed with peace, and a golden phoenix circled above, a symbol of their destined harmony. Together, Chang'e and Hou Yi became a symbol of love's highest form, of strength and grace intertwined. Their union brought prosperity to the land, and under their guidance, crops flourished, rivers ran clear, and the people knew peace. But as all legends go, even the most perfect beginnings must walk the path of fate. As the years passed and the land bloomed beneath the watchful eyes of Chang'e and Hou Yi, the world around them was ever-changing, ever-challenging. Hou Yi's name became legend, a beacon of hope to mortals and immortals alike. His skill with the bow was unparalleled, his feats whispered on the wind, and his deeds etched into the stones of temples and palaces. But none of his triumphs were as grand as the day when the 10 suns rose to scorch the earth. The heavens, once gentle in their celestial design, had grown restless. 10 suns, each born of the great Jade Emperor's power, rose into the sky at once, bringing heat so fierce that the rivers cracked and the earth withered beneath their relentless gaze. Crops burned in the fields, and villages turned to dust beneath the blinding light. Despair fell upon the people, and the gods themselves trembled, for there was no balance in the skies. It was then that Hou Yi, the archer who had once tamed the earth with his arrows, stepped forward. With bow in hand and heart full of purpose, he ascended to the heavens, calling upon the might of his ancestors and the will of the earth beneath his feet. As the suns blazed above, Hou Yi drew his mighty bow, each pull of the string a promise of salvation. One by one, he shot down the suns until only one remained, his arrows soaring like streaks of light across the sky, bringing relief to the suffering world below. The heavens, astonished by his strength and precision, recognized his valor, and Hou Yi was granted the title of immortal, revered by gods and men. Yet the Jade Emperor, with his celestial wisdom, saw in Hou Yi's triumph the seed of something more, something that would change the very fabric of existence. In gratitude for his deeds, the Queen Mother of the West, a powerful and mysterious deity, offered Hou Yi a gift, the Elixir of Immortality. It was a potion crafted in the farthest reaches of the heavens, a gift so rare that even the gods coveted it. With a single sip, Hou Yi would ascend beyond mortal bounds, forever untouched by time, free from the ravages of age and death. But the gift, as with all great treasures, carried its own weight. Hou Yi, torn between the temptation of eternal life and his love for Chang'e, faced a choice that would unravel the harmony he had so carefully built. He knew that to drink the elixir would grant him untold power and immortality, but it would also sever the bond of mortality that tied him to the woman he cherished. For in that moment, he would transcend the mortal realm and leave behind the life they had created together, the very essence of their love. The tension rose within him like a storm gathering on the horizon. And while the world had sung his praises for his heroic deeds, the weight of his next decision would not be so easily lifted. Would he sip the elixir, casting aside the fleeting nature of mortal life, or would he remain grounded in the earth, his heart bound to the woman who had once been his light in the darkness? It was in this moment of choice that the seeds of conflict were sown, and the path of fate began to twist in ways neither he nor Chang'e could have ever anticipated. Hou Yi stood before the Queen Mother of the West, the elixir of immortality held in her outstretched hands like a fragile, glowing pearl. It shimmered with the promise of eternity, its liquid a golden hue that seemed to capture the light of the heavens themselves. Her eyes, ancient and wise, observed him with both admiration and caution. "Brave Hou Yi," she said in a voice as soft as the wind, "you have saved the world. Your courage has turned the tide of fate. As a token of the heavens' gratitude, I offer you this elixir. Drink it, and you will live forever, untouched by time or decay." Hou Yi, his heart heavy with the weight of his actions, gazed at the elixir, his mind racing. The offer was nothing short of miraculous, a chance to transcend the mortal realm and become one with the gods. His arrows had pierced the sky, and now he had the power to pierce the boundaries of time itself. Yet, the gift was not without consequence. For immortality, he knew, could not be shared with all, especially not with Chang'e. His beloved, the radiant Chang'e, was mortal. Her beauty was matched only by her grace and wisdom, and her spirit was woven into the very fabric of the world they had created together. But she, too, would age. Her time would eventually come to an end, and he would be left behind, untouched by the ravages of time. Could he bear the thought of her growing old while he remained unchanged? Would their love, so pure and timeless, be torn apart by the cruel passage of life and death? The more Hou Yi considered the elixir, the more the tension within him grew. If he drank it, he would never die, but Chang'e, his one true love, would still be bound by the fleeting nature of mortality. But could he bear the thought of living without her by his side? And if he shared the elixir with her, would it break the laws of the gods? Could they both transcend the mortal realm? Or would such an act anger the heavens and destroy everything they held dear? The Queen Mother of the West, seeing the conflict in Hou Yi's heart, offered him a gentle smile. "You are wise, Hou Yi. The choice is yours alone. But know this, immortality, while eternal, can be a lonely existence. Even the gods, who live forever, yearn for the warmth of companionship. What will you choose?" Hou Yi, his mind torn, finally made a decision. He would not drink the elixir. He would not abandon Chang'e to a world without him, for his love for her was stronger than the desire for eternal life. And yet, he could not bring himself to simply let go of the possibility of eternity. The world was vast, and in the span of mortal years, they would be forced to part. He could not let that happen. In a moment of clarity, Hou Yi made a choice that would set the course of their future forever. He would keep the elixir hidden from Chang'e. He would protect her from the temptation, ensuring that she never had to face the agony of the decision that haunted him. And yet, the decision carried with it the bitter taste of sorrow, immortality denied for the sake of love. But the Queen Mother's words echoed in his mind as he took the elixir, hiding it from the world and from his wife. Immortality, while eternal, can be a lonely existence. As time passed, Hou Yi continued his hero's journey. He became a protector of the land, renowned for his strength and wisdom, and his deeds grew greater with each passing year. Yet, despite his many victories, his heart remained restless, as though something vital was slipping through his grasp. He could not shake the feeling that his decision to keep the elixir hidden from Chang'e would one day have dire consequences. It was not long before whispers of the elixir began to circulate among the gods. Some deities, sensing the power it held, coveted it, while others warned of the danger of tampering with such gifts. Among them, one figure, a goddess of darkness and jealousy, began to stir. She saw in Hou Yi's hidden elixir the potential for both power and ruin, and her heart darkened with envy. What would happen if she could take the elixir for herself? What if she could use it to claim the immortality that Hou Yi had so foolishly rejected? In the quiet of their palace, Chang'e began to sense a change in Hou Yi. Though he remained the man she loved, there was a distance between them, a shadow that had crept into their once harmonious life. He had grown more distant, consumed by his internal struggle, and she could not help but wonder if his decision had begun to weigh heavily upon him. And so, the stage was set. The elixir, now hidden away, a secret between the two of them, would become the catalyst for a chain of events that would shatter the peace of their world and forever change their destinies. Would Hou Yi be able to keep the elixir secret, or would the forces of fate and the growing tension between him and Chang'e eventually tear their love apart? The answer lay within the very heart of the elixir itself, and the gods, as always, would play their part in the drama that was unfolding. As the days passed, the weight of Hou Yi's decision grew heavier with each breath he took. The elixir, locked away in the deepest chamber of their home, pulsed with an allure that he could not ignore. Yet he held firm in his belief that he had made the right choice for love, for Chang'e. The idea of eternal life was no longer just about him, it was about them. He had chosen to deny himself immortality for the sake of their love. But could he keep such a powerful secret forever? One fateful evening, after a long journey to protect the realm from marauding demons, Hou Yi returned weary but resolute. His heart, however, was weighed down with an unshakable unease. Chang'e had grown distant lately, her eyes now shadowed with questions that she did not voice. The once serene and joyful life they had shared seemed to flicker, like a candle in a rising storm. In the stillness of the night, as they sat together beneath the soft glow of lanterns, Hou Yi found himself at a crossroads. The burden of the elixir had become too great to bear alone. He had tried to protect her from its temptation, but he could not shield her forever. In his heart, he knew that only by sharing the secret would he find peace, peace in his love for her, and peace in knowing that she would no longer feel the invisible wall that had slowly been building between them. Chang'e, Hou Yi began, his voice heavy with the weight of what he was about to say. There is something I must tell you. A gift I was given long ago. Her eyes flickered with a mix of concern and curiosity, sensing that something profound was about to unfold. Hou Yi hesitated, but then, as though releasing a breath he had held for years, he revealed the truth. He told her of the elixir of immortality, of the choice he had made to keep it hidden, and of the burden it had placed upon his heart. His voice was thick with regret, for though he had tried to protect her, he knew that the elixir's power was too potent to remain a secret. Chang'e listened in stunned silence, her heart racing as the words sank in. She could hardly believe what she was hearing. The elixir, an immortal life that could have saved him, and yet he had chosen to carry the weight of it alone. He had kept it from her, not out of malice, but out of love. I didn't want to burden you, Hou Yi confessed, his eyes filled with sorrow. But now, I cannot keep this from you any longer. You must decide what to do with it. I trust you. For a moment, the room was still. The quiet between them seemed to stretch into eternity. Chang'e, her face pale beneath the lantern light, took a slow breath. Her heart was torn, but she could not deny the pull of the elixir's promise. It was a gift so rare that it could change everything: her love, their time together, their future. As she reached out to take the elixir from Hou Yi's hands, a strange, unsettling feeling crept over her. The elixir shimmered with a beauty so dazzling that it filled her with awe. But there was something darker about it, a whisper on the edge of her mind urging her to drink from it. The temptation was overwhelming. She gazed into Hou Yi's eyes, searching for the reassurance she had always found in him. And yet, even as his love for her shone brightly in his gaze, there was something else, a deep, unfathomable sorrow. He had given her this gift, but in doing so, he had also given her a curse. For immortality was not just a blessing, it was a choice that came with endless consequences. "I don't want to lose you," she whispered, more to herself than to him. "But I also don't want to live forever without you." Hou Yi's heart clenched. He had hoped that his choice to give her the elixir would bring peace, but now he saw the torment in her eyes. The very power he had hoped would preserve their love was the thing that threatened to tear them apart. For immortality, as the Queen Mother of the West had warned, could be a lonely existence, one in which the passing of time could no longer bind two hearts together. As the night wore on, Chang'e found herself alone with the elixir. The temptation was maddening. She held it close, feeling its warmth seeping into her very soul, calling to her like an ancient force. Could she drink from it and become as Hou Yi was, immortal, eternal, untouched by time? Would they be able to share this new life together? But with the knowledge came the burden. She would no longer age, would never feel the sweet touch of time's natural passage. And one day, Hou Yi, her beloved, would grow old, while she would remain forever as she was, untouched by the flow of life. Would their love still hold? Would the distance between them become insurmountable, as the gods had warned? And so, in the silence of the night, the tragic choice was made. Chang'e, with trembling hands, lifted the elixir to her lips. As she drank, the world seemed to stop. A rush of power coursed through her veins, filling her with an eternal light. She was no longer bound by mortality. She had become immortal. But as the last drop of the elixir touched her tongue, the very world around her seemed to shift, as if the balance had been broken. The skies grew darker, and the winds howled in the distance. Her heart, once filled with hope, now felt as if it were being pulled in two directions: her love for Hou Yi, her fear of an eternity without him. And in that moment, the heavens themselves seemed to stir with displeasure. The gods, who had watched over them from afar, now saw the consequences of Chang'e's choice. The power of immortality, once a gift, had now become a burden too great for mortals to bear. It was then that the tragic truth revealed itself. The elixir's power had come with an unimaginable cost, one that neither Hou Yi nor Chang'e could have foreseen. The very love they had shared, once so pure and eternal, would now be tested by forces greater than their hearts could withstand. Would they be able to endure the weight of immortality, or would the gods' wrath tear them apart? The path they had chosen would not lead to the peace they had once imagined, but to a fate far more tragic than they could have ever imagined. Under the dim glow of the moon, Chang'e sat alone, the elixir of immortality nestled in her hands like a fragile promise. The chamber around her was quiet, the only sound the soft rustling of the wind outside their palace. It was the stillness of a moment stretched too thin, as if the world itself held its breath. She had spent hours, perhaps days, wrestling with the burden of her choice. The elixir's glow had haunted her, calling to her as it had once called to Hou Yi. He had given it to her out of love, yes, but now, as the world seemed to fall away, it felt like something else entirely, a temptation too powerful to resist. The weight of immortality was something Hou Yi could never have truly shared with her. His decision to withhold the gift had been born of love and fear, but fear of what? Losing her, growing apart, aging while she stayed the same? But it was too late to undo that choice. In the silence of their home, with Hou Yi still out in the world, she faced the truth. Immortality was now the only way to protect herself from losing him. The thought of a life without Hou Yi was unbearable, yet she feared that by not taking the elixir, she would eventually be the one left behind, her beauty and grace fading with time while he remained unchanged. It was not just about love, it was about survival, the desire to remain by his side forever, despite the inevitable consequences. With trembling hands, Chang'e raised the vial to her lips. The liquid was warm, as though it held the very essence of the sun itself, and she could feel its power coursing through her before it even touched her tongue. She closed her eyes, letting the coolness of the night air kiss her face, and without another thought, swallowed the elixir. The moment the liquid passed her lips, she felt it, an overwhelming surge of energy, an intoxicating force that seemed to lift her, as though the earth itself could no longer contain her. Her body shivered, and the room around her blurred, shifting into a whirl of light. She tried to steady herself, but the sensation was too much. Her very soul seemed to be ascending, rising toward the heavens at an impossible speed. Her feet left the ground, and the walls of the chamber seemed to dissolve, fading into nothingness. She was weightless, a mere speck in the vastness of the universe, caught between the earth and the stars. The moon's pale light beckoned to her, growing larger, drawing her closer, as if it had been waiting for her all along. Tears welled in Chang'e's eyes. She had done it, she had chosen immortality. But in the very act of choosing to save herself, she had lost something far more precious.
Hou Yi.
Her heart ached as she thought of him, still down on earth, likely returning to their home to find her gone. The man she loved, the hero of the world, would be left to face the weight of their decision alone. Could he ever forgive her for this? For choosing herself over the love they had shared, for choosing eternity at the cost of their future together? As the world below shrank into a distant blur, Chang'e's heart twisted in sorrow. She saw the ghost of their life together flash before her eyes. Moments of joy, laughter, shared dreams. They had been so close, and now she was being torn from him forever. But even in the midst of her sorrow, she could feel the pull of her destiny. The moon, serene and distant, had become her new home, the place where she would remain. She could no longer escape it. Her fate was sealed. The eternal life she had craved was hers, but at a terrible cost. In her final moments as she approached the cold light of the moon, she whispered his name. Hou Yi.
I'm sorry.
Forgive me. Her voice, lost in the vastness of the heavens, carried with it all the love and regret she had never been able to express. The transformation was complete. The pain of separation faded into a quiet, numb acceptance. Chang'e, now an immortal being, found herself standing alone on the moon, gazing down at the world she had once known. Below her, she could almost hear Hou Yi's voice, filled with confusion, heartbreak, and betrayal. And though she would live forever, the pain of that loss would never fade. As she stood, her heart heavy with the weight of her choice, she realized the true nature of immortality. It was not the blessing it had once seemed. It was a prison, as cold and silent as the moon itself. For eternity, she would watch over Hou Yi from afar, unable to touch him, unable to return to his embrace. And in the quiet of her isolation, she would remember the life they could have had, the love that might have lasted forever, had she not been so consumed by her fear. She was Chang'e, the moon goddess now, but at that moment, she was also the woman who had lost everything she had ever truly cared for. And she would spend her eternal life gazing down on the earth, forever longing for the love she had left behind. The night that Chang'e ascended to the heavens, leaving behind Hou Yi and the world they had once shared, marked the beginning of an eternal sorrow. For both, the separation was not just physical, but spiritual, a tear in the very fabric of their souls, an ache that would never be healed. Hou Yi returned to their palace late that night, his heart light with anticipation. He had just completed another heroic feat, saving a village from a band of demons, and he longed to return to Chang'e's warm embrace. He imagined her soft smile, her gentle touch, the quiet moments they shared together. But as he entered their home, something felt amiss. The air was thick with an unfamiliar chill, as if the warmth that had once radiated from their love had vanished. He called her name, but no answer came. Panic seized his heart as he searched the palace, his breath quickening. Chang'e was nowhere to be found. The only clue that remained was the empty vial of the Elixir of Immortality, lying discarded on the floor. It shimmered faintly in the moonlight, a silent witness to the irreversible choice she had made. His mind raced as the realization dawned on him. No, the elixir. She had consumed it, and in doing so, she had sealed her fate, forever separated from him. Desperation gripped him, and in his anguish, Hou Yi cried out to the heavens, his voice a mixture of grief and fury.
Why?
Why did you do this, Chang'e? You promised we would be together. We were supposed to be immortal in each other's arms, not torn apart by the gods. But the heavens remained silent, indifferent to his suffering. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months, but Hou Yi's anguish did not fade. He sought counsel from the wisest sages, consulted ancient texts, and traveled to sacred shrines, desperately searching for a way to reunite with his beloved wife. He could not, would not, accept the eternal separation the gods had imposed on them. His heart, once filled with the radiant love they had shared, was now a hollow, broken vessel. The world had become a place of endless emptiness. The sun rose and set, but Hou Yi saw no beauty in the sky anymore. The wind whispered of sorrow. The stars held no joy. Everything reminded him of her absence, and every moment without Chang'e felt like 1,000 lifetimes. Meanwhile, on the moon, Chang'e stood in the cold, silent expanse, her heart heavy with the same grief that now consumed Hou Yi. She had ascended, yes, but she was far from free. The moon, once a serene and beautiful place, had become her prison, a lonely realm where no love could reach her. There was no warmth here, no gentle touch, no comforting presence. Only the harsh, indifferent light of the stars, which gazed upon her in cold silence. As the days stretched into endless nights, Chang'e wandered the barren landscape of the moon, her thoughts ever consumed by Hou Yi. She could still feel the warmth of his embrace, the softness of his voice, the depth of his love. But it was all fading, slipping through her fingers like the moonbeams themselves. She had made the choice to drink the elixir, believing it would protect her from the inevitable passage of time. But now, she realized too late that immortality was not the gift it had seemed. It was a curse, a prison, a punishment. Every night, she gazed down at the earth, at the world she had once known. In the quiet solitude of the moon, she would close her eyes and imagine Hou Yi, out there, somewhere, searching for a way to bring her back. She longed to hear his voice, to feel his touch once more, but the distance between them was insurmountable. She whispered his name to the empty skies. Hou Yi, my love, do you still remember me? Do you still search for me? The answer, of course, was no. The gods had made sure of that. She had been cast into isolation, condemned to watch the world from afar, never to touch it again, never to return to the love she had once known. But even as she accepted her fate, a part of her rebelled. Was this truly her punishment for choosing immortality? The heartache, the loneliness, was this the price she had to pay for trying to preserve their love? Hou Yi's journey became a relentless quest. He climbed mountains, crossed oceans, and ventured into realms where even the gods feared to tread. He sought out the immortals, hoping that one of them might offer him a solution, a way to break the curse that had torn his life apart. He even journeyed to the Queen Mother of the West, the one who had granted him the Elixir of Immortality. But her gaze was cold, and her words were final. Hou Yi, the gods have made their decree. No mortal can alter the will of the heavens. But Hou Yi would not stop. Every night, he would look up to the sky, his gaze fixed on the moon, where he knew Chang'e was. And every night, the pain would return, sharp, unyielding. She was up there, somewhere unreachable. And he was down here, condemned to a life without her. Though separated by an impossible distance, both Chang'e and Hou Yi's love remained undiminished, a silent thread that bound them even across the vastness of space. For all the gods' attempts to sever their bond, love had its own power, a force that no curse could ever truly contain. In her quiet solitude, Chang'e felt Hou Yi's presence, as though his heart was still with her, still beating in time with her own. His pain, his sorrow, it reached her, in ways that no mortal could understand. And in his loneliness, he, too, would feel her spirit, hovering close, as if the moon itself had become a mirror for their shared sorrow. As the years passed, Hou Yi's body began to age. Time had claimed him, but his love for Chang'e remained as fierce as ever. He grew weaker, knowing that he could never be with her in life. Yet his search for a way to reunite with her never ceased. Even as his strength faltered, his love never did. And on the moon, Chang'e would spend her immortal days watching him from afar, her heart heavy with the knowledge that she could never return to him. The love that had once promised eternity now seemed like a distant memory, a sweet, bitter echo of what had been, and what could never be again. But still, they loved, in silence, from opposite ends of the world. When the elixir of immortality coursed through Chang'e's veins, her world transformed in an instant. Her body, once bound by the limitations of mortality, became ethereal, and the earth beneath her feet began to fade. She felt a powerful surge of energy, an ascension that lifted her higher and higher, her body weightless, as if the very air was supporting her. The light of the moon, once distant and cold, enveloped her, guiding her toward her new, celestial home. But even as she rose, a deep sorrow gripped her heart. She glanced back toward the earth below, toward Hou Yi, her beloved husband, whose face she would never see again, whose touch she would never feel. Her soul screamed for him, but the distance between them was vast, infinite. Her body ascended, and yet her heart remained tethered to the world she had left behind. In that moment, Chang'e was not just leaving the earth. She was leaving her very humanity behind. As she rose further into the heavens, the world below began to shrink. The landscape of ancient China, with its mountains, rivers, and forests, became but a distant memory. The voices of the people, the sounds of life, everything faded away, until only the cold, silver expanse of the moon greeted her. Upon landing, Chang'e's feet touched the surface of a barren, desolate land. It was not the vibrant, lively world she had known. The moon was a place of solitude, its surface scattered with dust and craters, and yet it had a strange beauty of its own, a haunting, mystical silence that enveloped her like a shroud. Here, Chang'e was no longer a mortal woman. She had become a celestial goddess, bound to the moon for all eternity. The weight of immortality pressed heavily on her spirit, but it was the isolation, the profound loneliness, that weighed most heavily on her heart. She had been separated from Hou Yi, not just by distance, but by the very nature of existence. She could no longer walk among the living. Her body was untouchable, her form impervious to the passage of time, but she could never return to the love she had lost. The cold beauty of the moon was both a blessing and a curse. It was a sanctuary, yet it was also a prison. For countless nights, Chang'e wandered the moon's surface, her footsteps echoing in the stillness. The stars above shimmered, but they did not offer her any warmth. The moon's pale glow was steady, but it felt empty, like a reminder of everything she had lost. She gazed down at the earth, her heart aching as she thought of Hou Yi. She could see him, living on, but she could never be with him. The moon was a lonely witness to her sorrow. In her solitude, Chang'e longed to hear Hou Yi's voice once more, to feel his arms around her, to be part of the world she had left behind. But the heavens had taken that from her. And now, her existence was confined to the moon, the endless stretch of its barren landscape stretching far and wide. The weight of immortality was not just physical. It was a burden of the soul. She could not age, could not die, but she could never again experience the joy of fleeting moments, the warmth of the sun, the sound of the wind, the laughter of children. Everything she had once loved was now a memory, out of reach. But in this desolate place, there were glimpses of companionship. Among the craters and jagged rocks of the moon, there resided a mystical creature, one that had been entrusted to keep Chang'e company in her eternal exile. The Jade rabbit, a symbol of immortality and self-sacrifice, hopped gracefully across the moon's surface. Its fur was as white as the moon itself, and its eyes sparkled with a wisdom that seemed to surpass time. The Jade rabbit had been tasked with pounding the elixir of immortality in a mortar, creating an endless cycle of preparation that matched Chang'e's own eternal existence. It was a quiet, solitary existence, but it gave Chang'e a sense of purpose, something to anchor her in the vast emptiness of the moon. The rabbit would often sit by her side, its gentle presence a source of comfort, even if it could not speak. "Are you lonely too?" Chang'e would sometimes whisper to the rabbit, but the rabbit could only nuzzle her gently, as if to reassure her that she was not entirely alone in this desolate place. In the farthest corner of the moon, where the shadows seemed to stretch longer than anywhere else, there grew a tree, a cassia tree, its branches heavy with silver blossoms. The tree, though small, was majestic in its own right, and it had been planted there by the gods as a gift to Chang'e. It was said that the tree would bloom for eternity, its fragrance carrying the essence of immortality, a reminder of the power that now resided within her. Chang'e would often sit beneath the tree, gazing at its delicate flowers. She had once dreamed of having such a tree on earth, a symbol of her love for Hou Yi, but now it was here, in this foreign, lifeless realm. Its beauty did little to alleviate her sorrow, but there was something strangely comforting about the cassia tree. It stood as a symbol of her eternal life, a reminder that she was forever bound to the moon. Sometimes, when the loneliness became too much to bear, she would reach out and touch the delicate petals of the blossoms, feeling their cool softness against her fingers. It was a small comfort, but it was enough to soothe her weary heart, if only for a fleeting moment. As the centuries passed, Chang'e's grief slowly transformed into acceptance. She could never return to Hou Yi. The story of Chang'e continues to resonate through the ages, an enduring symbol of love, sacrifice, and the complexities of immortality. Her myth has become inseparable from the fabric of Chinese culture, passed down through generations, shaping the heart of one of the most cherished traditions, the Mid-Autumn Festival. As the moon rises to its fullest on the 15th day of the 8th lunar month, people gather to celebrate not just the harvest, but the timeless tale of a goddess who gave up her humanity for the sake of eternal life, only to find herself forever separated from the one she loved most. During the festival, families offer sacrifices and prayers, gazing up at the glowing orb in the sky as if reaching out to Chang'e herself. The moon, shining brilliantly in its fullness, has become a sacred symbol, one of longing, of separation, but also of hope. It is said that during this time, Chang'e's spirit is closest to the earth, and those who call upon her may receive blessings of reunion, peace, and prosperity. In the moon's light, people see more than just a celestial body. They see a reflection of their deepest desires, to be with loved ones, to find harmony, and to achieve immortality in the bonds they share. As families share mooncakes, exchanging these round symbols of unity, they do so with the knowledge that the moon, as it glows in the sky, carries the essence of Chang'e's eternal presence. The sacrifices and offerings made during the festival are a tribute to her, a plea for peace and for the fulfillment of wishes long held in the hearts of those who gather beneath her watchful gaze. Through these acts, Chang'e's myth continues to inspire a deep sense of connection to the past, a reminder that though time may separate us from those we love, love itself endures, unchanged and everlasting. In the quiet moments of reflection, as the moonlight bathes the earth below, people remember the depth of Chang'e's sacrifice. Her choice to consume the elixir of immortality was a decision born of both love and despair, a powerful act of self-preservation that led to eternal life, but also to eternal solitude. She is not just a goddess of the moon, but a symbol of the human condition itself, the tensions between the fleeting nature of life and the desire for permanence, the strength found in sacrifice, and the unyielding force of love that can transcend even the boundaries of time. Chang'e's story, marked by both tragedy and beauty, continues to inspire. She is not just a divine figure bound to the moon, but a reminder that love, sacrifice, and the pursuit of immortality are threads that weave through the lives of all who walk the earth. Her myth serves as a guiding light for those who seek understanding of the complexities of the heart, a tale that transcends the ages, forever entwined with the light of the moon. And so, every year, when the Mid-Autumn Festival arrives, people look up to the heavens, offering their prayers and hopes to the goddess who will never return to them, yet whose love will never fade.